once again, I'm watching my wonderful YouTube feed, and TYT is doing a piece on how a young person, new to politics relatively, is becomes one of the most despicable people that you've ever seen in politics. And if you talk about a WWE heel turn, Krysten Sinema is my 1A, 1B between her and Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin's been doing it for a long time, and they become cut buddies, and they tanked one of the more important things that was going to be really positive for regular people through the Biden administration when they were negotiating for the infrastructure bill. They had two bills. One was worth $1.6 trillion. And it was what they called a corporate giveaway because it was very, very good corporations that were going to be working towards supposedly building the infrastructure. The other one was what they called a soft um, uh, uh, infrastructure bill that was going to help with people in their personal lives. Permanent $300 tax credit, lowering of the drug prices for Medicare and Medicaid, various things, including for people like myself who are retiree, a bump in your Social Security, and also a way to continue to make sure that it's solvent and that it's good. That and Medicare. Two people, two people fucked that whole bill up, tanked the whole thing because of their corporate liaisons. And you know, my thing is this: I know how much corruption is in American politics today. I understand it. But as Tony Soprano used to say, I want to wet my beak too, motherfucker. And for you people to be so greedy, and that's the corporate people that you work for, that you go to your little wine caves and have your fundraisers, till you're out there on your boat, almost heaven, making your phone calls and driving around in your Maserati. You are the antithesis of democracy. You destroy democracy, and you destroy the average Americans want to even participate in it all. That's how you have so many people on both sides that don't even want to vote anymore. Where more than half of your country of 365 million people are not voting. Because your vote value is diminished by the existence of the Electoral College, by Citizens United, by you having unlimited money in your campaigns and in the political process. Dark money is allowed with the FEC ruling that got kind of pushed under the rug last year. That allows dark money to come from foreign sources. You don't even know where it came from, and then you scream both sides about influence of Russia and this and that, and it's all bullshit. And if you could just be satisfied with your $174,000 you're making as a senator or a congressperson, or 200 grand, lifetime health care after 5 years, and all the other benefits, not to mention the insider knowledge that you guys trade on a regular basis. Look at the queen of that in Nancy Pelosi. Both sides disgust me. But as a lifelong person who voted Democrat, these last 6 or 7 years have been horrific. We had this ray of light, this ray of hope that a guy like Bernie Sanders could do something substantial. And you got people like Krysten Sinema, like Joe Manchin, and other corporate Democrats, quote unquote blue dogs. I consider them more Dixiecrats than anything else. The history of these people is that they never saw a war they didn't like, along with all the Republican Party. So trillions of dollars can go into being in Afghanistan for 22 years, But then when Joe Biden finally does something courageous that even Obama didn't do, and that's to have a $3.5 trillion infrastructure, soft infrastructure to help people and to give them substantive help coming out of COVID, what do? Oh, it's old Kirsten Sinema with the thumbs down for $15 an hour while she takes corporate money. And then you got Joe Manchin as well, who he's worth around $8 million that's on the books. He's got one of the dirtiest pet Coke coal operations that he's a part owner to that gets him $500,000 a year supposedly, along with his monies and any other monies that may be coming to the table to keep tanking stuff. Yeah, the little question in this little conversation I'm going to play for you is them talking about no labels, which was nothing but a corporate driven piece of garbage, talking about you guys fight too much with on each other. We should just be hold to the corporations like we always do, which you do already. The question is that we reach such a hard wall, we need political representation that would actually do something substantial for people. And you fight tooth and nail for that. And that is the reason why Donald Trump won a presidency. He would have never won a presidency if you had went with the people's choice. And that was Mr. Bernie Sanders. But during the primary, especially in New York and California, the two blue strongholds, you put your finger on the scale. You made sure that this man was not going to be your presumptive candidate. And you chose a person that across the board, I know plenty of Democrats that don't like Hillary Clinton and did not think she was a good candidate for president. And you pushed that agenda anyway. So now we end up with Donald Trump when it was supposed to be Bernie Sanders. So I got to drive that point home. If you think that that's some kind of hyperbole, there's a ton of information to show you otherwise. All you have to do is go back and look at the primaries and how the primaries are run and how they were called. And then to know that both times, both in 16 and in 20, the guy that was most popular, especially with young voters, who what you want to bring into the fold, was Mr. Bernie Sanders. And then, of course, the abject failure of the so-called squad and AOC. And I present to you that AOC is nothing more than a cardboard cutout of what Nancy Pelosi used to be, where you talk rah, rah, rah about the people, but when it really comes to where the rubber meets the road and where you really get in there and say, yo, we're not budging, you were not supposed to budge on decoupling the infrastructure bills. You didn't get the corporate one without the one for the people. And that was the original agreement. That was the original promise to us as the voters. But when it came time, you folded like the pump tent that you are. You're getting those paychecks, Miss Ocasio-Cortez, and you forgot about the people, because it's nice to be in that Washington Beltway. It's nice to make money. I present to you that if you don't have the guts to do what you originally started doing, which was to sit out in front of Nancy Pelosi's office and go off, or to say the things and speak to power and speak to all this and do something substantive about it, even if it means tying some shit up, then you're not doing your job and you can go back to bartending, which I know you're not going to do now because you're already too far in and you love that money. You love that paycheck. So I'm super disappointed in you. And then with these people, you guys had the power, the capability to put pressure on these two when it came to that vote to give something to the American people, if you do nothing else in your career. And that's where Joe Biden failed, because he was considered old and weak. So now we got what we got. So now I'm going to play this video for you and take a good look at this bum, Krysten Sinema, and her at this TED Talk or wherever she's talking out of her ass.
People really wanted no labels to put up Manchin, maybe yourself or somebody.
No, I'm overqualified.
Well, what's next for you? Are you going to consider
Who gives a shit?
running, or you want to be in the private sector? Or you just want to
Yeah, I'm
party
really
one it?
excited about what's happening in the private sector right now. I mean, we've got industries in this country that are really pushing the edge on what's going to ensure that we're globally competitive and innovative for the future. And I'm really excited about it. And I believe that regardless of what's happening in government, because as I mentioned earlier, I do think it's going to get worse. Gridlock's going to get tougher and blah, blah, blah. People
Thanks to
are
people
not
like
interested in
you.
solving problems. They're just interested in TikTok.
Oh, no, not more gridlock. She would hate if there was more gridlock because she has such, a broad base of policies on the platform she wants to pass and lots of things, and she's constantly making deals. No, she's not there to just kill anything. Remember, she's the thumbs down person. She's the person that's like, I'm going off and doing internships at wineries and you want $15 an hour? No pay for you. Go on your TikToks. I can mock you for that too.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach out.
We're going to get back to a little bit more because I want you to see some of the comments. This person started out a career as a liberal Democrat from Arizona that was going to do some things for the people. And I don't think the woman was in politics for more than a year before you started talking about this stuff about we're arguing too much with each other and we need to get along. You know what? If you have a group of people that are in Washington that want to leave people hanging all the time, how can you even let that come out of your mouth? You came into the situation saying how you were going to fight for people. To now you're just a complete and utter corporate sellout on the highest level. And that's explored in Bernie Blackout. If you have an opportunity to, I didn't finish my thought before, but please see Bernie Blackout, which really gives you a deep explanation on how the scumbags in the Democratic Party, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the Clinton team, along with people like Tom Perez, and they totally pushed the guy who was most popular with the newest of voters, and with a lot of people that had been voting and hoping for something different, to people that might have never considered a guy like that. And, I think there's a lot of people that need to understand what socialism is and what social democracy is, because there's many countries that have it that are part of the G7 and they're very successful. They have the capitalistic side where they have private corporations, but they have the government side, which is not corrupt or a lot less corrupt than what we enjoy here, with a lot less money, but do more substantial things for people. So they have a healthcare program. They get to go on vacations, and it's mandated that they do so. And the level of what their schools are like in terms of your education, to re-educate your populace, job placement, housing, reducing the chances of you ending up homeless, of looking at drug situations and people that have drug situations as a socio-economic issue more than one where you have to jail people and you consider it a law and order issue. So all these things culminate together to have what we have, right? I'm going to continue the video for you guys. They got the little thing in here, and then we'll get back to the conversation a little bit.
And as our producers point out, she's like posting Ted Lasso memes on social media and then downing on people for going on TikTok. First of all, Krysten Sinema consumes at least 500 Instagram Reels a day. I guarantee it. They're just 3-day-old TikToks. That's all they are. You're not better. But anyway, that's who she is. And it enrages me to see her sit there. I'm overqualified. I mean, look at all of my accomplishments. I ran as an environmentalist, and then I got in, flipped off, double fingers. I almost did it. Everyone who supported me, everyone who volunteered for me, all of my staff members, and just sat there and refused to let anything happen for years. And I made things worse for all of the people that had hopes that it'd make things better. And now, I just want to benefit a lot financially. I'm super excited about what's happening in the private sector where they'll pay me tons of money for the contacts I have. I'm
It
not
is.
qualified for any position in the private sector, but I know people, I can call them, so give me millions of dollars.
Exactly.
And I apologize if
You'll
that's
be a
a bit
lobbyist.
condescending. It is also way nicer than I'd like to talk about her, Sharon. But what do
You're
you
not.
think?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's
See you
fine.
next Tuesday.
It's,
Actually,
lacking integrity, all about me, loving to be the center of attention. She actually loved the gridlock that she was able to say,
yeah.
I pressed the gridlock, and everyone has to kiss the ring and try to convince me. She loved it. And you're right. I'm very excited about the private sector. She's excited about the millions and millions and millions of dollars that she is going to make. She was never in it for her constituents. She was never in it for the people. She's in it for herself. But it infuriates me too that if that's who you want to be, that's who you want to be. Who cares? And we get it. The grift has always been there. But that she's hanging around on the end of this thing, preaching to the rest of us. I just want to just get up and say, shove it. I really want someone in the audience to just be disruptive, not violent, just give her something because she's earned it.
Yeah,
That is absolutely true. Somebody needs to jump up and give her a timeline of what she's done and tell her to shut the fuck up and go to a fucking car wash somewhere and work. And I don't think that she has the ability to work as a straight up, good, honest, hardworking American. She has found her grift and she's gripping it with both hands as much as possible. The corporate dinners and the shift that this woman took, got a great article about it in Vanity Fair that I highly suggest you research. It's a couple of years old. There's been a number of articles and videos that are written on her. But what we're going to do now is we're going to look at some of the comments, because the comments always kind of tell you where you're at and if you're right or wrong about a person. You usually get like a consensus in the comments. Okay, how about this one? The first one. She appears to be a total narcissist psycho. Nobody in any industry is waiting for her, and there are more than enough grifters already. That's pretty perfect. How could the gridlock get worse? Republicans don't like any lawmaking that doesn't include abortion or taxes or oppression of others. And any wars, and then you get the corporate Democrats. That's the one thing. If you do a deep dive into what has been a bipartisan bill, it's always corporate. It is very rare, and the rarest of rare, that you have a bipartisan bill that helps regular working class people. That's what you need to know. And we need to get past this moment with Trump. Obviously, the only choice we got realistically is to deal with the Democrats, but try to bring much more political pressure on them up and down the line in state elections and in national elections, to put more pressure on them to do more for people. And in the midst of that, you had to try to get money out of politics. And in the midst of that, pardon me, you also need to have a third or fourth party even, so it gives people more choices on who they want to vote for. Election day absolutely needs to be on a Saturday or an election holiday where it's considered a holiday to do your Democratic part, and not to have the clowns that are in the Republican Party right in this state that don't want you to give food or water to people while they're standing in line to vote. That came right out of the Republicans in Austin voting for that under this so-called governor, Greg Abbott. You got to be out of your mind and pretty sick in the brain to not want to have your fellow men and standing out in hot Texas sun, which you could easily be in the 90s in Texas in certain places, even in November, or whenever you're going out to vote, but especially during a national election. You can't get anybody any food or water. If I walk up to you and give you food or water as a citizen and I want to be arrested, ticketed, that is sick and that is stupid and it's pathetic and sad. All right, let's look at some more comments on the great Krysten Sinema. Sellout, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna skip that one. Policymakers should be banned from stocks and sign non-compete-esque clauses that prevent them from turnstiling over the private sector after they leave office. And that gets to our biggest problem as a political system in this country. Lobbying should be outlawed. And if you're paying somebody under the table, you're facing 30 to 50 to life in prison for taking money from corporations to do their bidding. We have to take the special interests out on both sides, on all sides. When you take office in public service, you're there to serve the public, not just corporations. That's how they make corporations people in language, but they have much more money and control than you as the individual. So once they get your vote out of you, then they're done with you. They don't have anything for you. And that's essentially both sides. I will give the Democrats just a little tiny bit of credit that some little things happen to squeak through. More could happen if the squad had more balls, and certainly more could have happened in our most recent memory if the two morons that I'm talking about here, Joe Manchin and Krysten Sinema, had voted for the soft infrastructure bill. And that's one of many examples. We should not have been and spent the trillions of dollars that we spent in Afghanistan for the period of time. Anybody knowing the history of Afghanistan knows that no one has ever conquered Afghanistan. And for you to think that you were going to do that is ridiculous. I just saw an excerpt from the Sean Ryan podcast, and they're saying, had a woman that had supposedly plugged in intelligence, that monies is coming somewhere from the United States government, whether it's through some black budget stuff, through some other arcane methods that we are not knowing of. And she's claiming that $43 million to $81 million a month is being sent to the Taliban. And that was a deal that looks as if Mr. Trump negotiated when he had the Taliban leadership there and really didn't put any kind of serious restrictions on them. And when they start talking about this $8 billion worth of military equipment that's been left there, most DOD experts, if you want to believe them, or some outside experts are saying as well, that that's over the whole life of the time that we were in Afghanistan. So that's 22 years. A lot of equipment is old. It doesn't have the maintenance thresholds so that it doesn't stand up. And unless they get the maintenance and get the parts for it, a lot of this equipment is not there. And the more important equipment and heavy delivery system equipment and stronger ordnance equipment that might be used in a wartime fashion was removed according to state. So, it is state and it is DOD, but they do have people that are honest Americans that work for these different government agencies and give you the straight dope on what happened. I'd be more interested in knowing what happened with the $3 billion that was flown over to Iraq somewhere between 04 and 06. And when monies were given out, in one particular story that I read and also heard on a video podcast, that two Black Hawk helicopters took $100 million and flew it to northern Iraq by Kurdistan and gave it to a guy. He didn't have to sign for the money because he supposedly was rebuilding the infrastructure. So there's a lot of things to point at, and not to go too far off base, but don't forget about the fact, and it's been in the media lately, that MBS wants his $2.5 billion that he gave to Jared Kushner. Apparently, I guess they're getting the rumblings of the idea that they backed the wrong horse, maybe. And now with Joe Biden gone and Harris may be the presumptive winner in their eyes and by the eyes of their people and experts, they want their money back now. And that still doesn't include the $1.6 billion or $1.3 billion that he got from the Qatar government after he muscled them with his top security clearance to make them look bad, even though our air operations were in Qatar. So that's a video for another day. We're going to stick with Krysten and we're going to stick with Joe Manchin, and we're going to look at a few more comments and we'll wrap this up. Says the gridlock queen. The lady's yelling for attention. So I guess she took a bribe that included a cushy job in the private sector. I highly recommend looking at this video and just going and doing a deep dive on Krysten, Sinema, and Joe Manchin, and how they are obviously been corrupted by corporations. And this is something that's a disease that's just not to them. But as a lifelong Democrat and as a person who's wanted to see substantive change that helped regular people, especially coming out of a post-COVID environment, there would be certain things that you would do that would be helpful to people. And you always find a way not to do it, but you're always ready to fight a war. So now we got to supply Israel with weapons and support. We got to do something in Ukraine that we had no business being involved in, but that was something that was building for a very long time. And now we got a situation where the doomsday clocks got us at a closer spot than we've ever been in the history of the doomsday clock. Because you're looking at nuclear war if we don't pull back. Israel needs to be cut off money-wise in every possible way. If anybody in Washington had any sense on either side, we can't continue this way. You got to come to the negotiation table. You can't keep murdering people and blowing them up. And now you're trying to build another wider war with Lebanon and Iran. It's completely ridiculous, completely out of control, and it's costing us way, way too much money after spending 22 years in Afghanistan. And now we're back over in the Middle East again because you want us to be there. The Zionists that run the Israeli political machine right now. And if you go and look on Weon and Gravitas and Reuters and AP Wire, you'll find videos of thousands of Israelites in the street wanting Netanyahu's head and wanting him out of office, and knowing that something that was not correct happened on October 7th. Like they opened that door for them to get in just so they could have this wider war and then give some statements about this is our 9/11. Bullshit. And the whole world knows it. And we as Americans, I know as an American, I do not want us to be involved in more Middle East stuff that could be settled in some kind of way at the negotiation table. And the same happens to be for Ukraine. We need to be spending that money on our infrastructure. We need high-speed bullet trains. We need cleaner air, cleaner water. We need a training program that gets young people off the street with guns in their hand and gets books back in their hands and lets them understand that there's a place for them to help build this infrastructure that we need. We got green jobs that could be in the form of building new ways to have houses that are stronger in storms. 3D printing homes. There's a guy here in the city that I live in that's 3D printing homes. There's another guy here that created a machine that takes water right out of the air, makes 12,500 gallons of water, I believe, per week, taken right out of the air. We need innovation, and we need to spend our money here at home, and we need to try to bring some level of peace and understanding and, dare I say the word love, to our fellow human beings on the planet, and cut all the killing and all the bullshit. So with that, I will leave you. Please put your comments in. Please subscribe to us. And this is just passion for love for the United States and for the world, and hoping for a peaceful place for us to live.
Hello, hello, hello. I would greatly appreciate it if you can actually support my little small business called Latrice Limited. It is on latricelimited.com. So as you can see right here, I actually sell candles and a wide variety of other items as well. This is my big forehead, okay? But I actually want to show you just a couple of different items that I do sell. This is actually going to be a part of my soap collection that I have. As you can see, I have a variety of different soaps on here. I actually have 2 pages worth of soaps, and everything is handmade, okay, natural, clean ingredients as well. You can also see right here, these are my candles, all right, they're all handmade, everything vanilla, sweet roses, sage and vanilla, vanilla and sweet roses are actually my favorite scents that I do have. I also have a few other items on here. I'm actually going to go and show you all the bath bombs that I do have. As you all can see, there's eucalyptus and sage, sweet pea harmony, and so many more. And then we're just going to finish off on the gift sets that I have. There's a variety of them, from like the big ones like this for $45, and then you have some of the smaller ones, and you have these itty bitty ones down here that includes essential oil blends. Definitely shop with your girl. Definitely help your girl out. I would greatly appreciate it. This is like my little baby over here. Okay. I would greatly appreciate it, and enjoy.